They laughed at the piggy bank I inherited from my father, but cried when they saw what was inside. Sarah Harrison never imagined that the day of her father's will reading would become the most humiliating moment of her life. Sitting in the lawyer's office, she watched her brothers receive their inheritances with satisfied smiles, while she waited her turn with a heavy heart. It was when the lawyer mentioned her name that everything fell apart. While James, her older brother, inherited the family home and half the savings, and Tyler, the middle one, got the other half of the money and their father's car, all that remained for her was an object she knew well from childhood. To Sarah Harrison goes the pink pig-shaped piggy bank that belonged to the family, announced the lawyer in a neutral tone, handing her the time-worn object. The reaction was immediate. James burst into a cruel laugh that echoed through the room, closely followed by Tyler. "Seriously, Dad? A child's piggy bank?" James couldn't stop laughing, pointing at the object in his sister's hands. "Sarah, you have to see the irony in this. You were always Daddy's little girl, and in the end, he left you a child's toy." Tyler shook his head in disbelief. "This is humiliating, Sarah. What are you going to do with it? Save your spare change?" The brothers' wives also joined in the laughter. Kimberly, married to James for 15 years, covered her mouth with her hand in a false attempt to hide her laugh. "Sorry, Sarah, but it is kind of funny. You two," she pointed at James and Tyler, "inherit real assets, and she gets this." Ashley, Tyler's wife, was even more direct. "Honey, you have to admit it's weird. Maybe your father wasn't thinking straight in his final days. A pink piggy bank, seriously?" Sarah felt the tears burning her eyes, but fought not to cry in front of them. She hugged the piggy bank to her chest, feeling its weight in her hands. It was heavier than she remembered from childhood, and when she discreetly shook it, she heard a different sound inside. It didn't seem to be just a few loose coins. "Are you finished?" she asked with a trembling voice, rising from her chair. "Sarah, calm down." James tried to adopt a softer tone, but still with a mocking smile. "It's just hard to understand, you know. Dad always treated you like a princess, and in the end, he leaves you this. Maybe it's symbolic. Who knows?" "Symbolic of what, James?" "I don't know. Maybe that you need to grow up and stop being such a dreamer." He shrugged. "Look, if you want, I can help you sell it. It's probably worth about $5–10 at a thrift store." Sarah felt as if she had been slapped in the face. "Sell it? You think I'm going to sell something Dad left me?" "Sarah, be realistic," Tyler sighed. "You lost your job last week. You need real money, not childhood trinkets." The revelation that they knew about her professional situation made her feel even more vulnerable. She had only told her mother about being let go from the apparel boutique where she had worked for 3 years. "How do you know about that?" "Mum told us. She's worried about you." James crossed his arms. "Look, Sarah, we don't want to be cruel, but you need to be practical. This piggy bank won't pay your bills." The lawyer, who had remained silent during the entire discussion, cleared his throat discreetly. "Excuse me, but I need to inform you that the will is irrevocable and was prepared with Mr. Harrison in sound mind. He left specific instructions about each item." Instructions about the piggy bank. Sarah became immediately interested, only that it should be delivered exactly as is, without being opened here in the law office. This information sparked a strange curiosity in Sarah. Why would her father insist that the piggy bank not be opened in the office, and why did it seem different from what she remembered? In the following days, the situation only worsened. Sarah returned to the small apartment she shared with her friend Chloe, a nurse who worked at the community hospital. Chloe was one of the few people who didn't judge Sarah for her financial difficulties. "So they really just laughed at you?" Chloe shook her head indignantly as she prepared tea for the two of them. "The whole time it was horrible, Chloe. I felt like a child being humiliated at school. And this piggy bank, have you tried opening it?" Sarah showed the object to her friend. It was a faded pink pig with some dark stains that seemed to be marks of age. It was about 6 inches long and surprisingly heavy. "It seems to have something important inside. The sound is different." "Your father wasn't one to do meaningless things, Sarah. I remember when you talked about him. He was a careful man, thoughtful about every detail. It was true, Robert Harrison had always been meticulous in everything he did. He worked as an accountant at a construction firm and had the habit of organizing and saving every important document. He never did anything impulsively. Then why leave me only this while the boys got real assets? Maybe because it's more important than it seems. That night Sarah had trouble sleeping. She kept turning the piggy bank over in her hands, trying to understand what could be inside. She tried to open it through the traditional slot on the bottom, but discovered it was sealed in some different way. The next day, James showed up at her apartment unannounced. "Hey sis, came to see how you're doing." Sarah was immediately suspicious. James never visited her, especially since she had moved to that simpler apartment after losing her previous job 2 years ago. "What do you want, James?" "Nothing much. I just thought about that piggy bank. Do you really want to keep it?" "Why? Changed your mind about it being a childish joke?" James seemed uncomfortable. "Look, I thought about it more. Maybe it does have sentimental value. If you want, I can take it. To preserve Dad's memory, you know." Sarah stared at him with disbelief. "James, you spent 2 days laughing at me because of this piggy bank. Now you want it?" "It's just that I thought, maybe it's unfair you only got this. How about we split it? I can give you $100 for the piggy bank. It's money that can help you right now." The offer confirmed Sarah's suspicions. There was something there that James knew or suspected. "No, thank you. Daddy left it for me. I'm keeping it." "Sarah, be sensible. You're unemployed, behind on rent." "How do you know I'm behind on rent?" James hesitated. Mom mentioned you were having difficulties." It was a lie. Sarah had never told her mother about the rent problems. Chloe had lent her money twice last month, but that was a secret between them. "Get out of my house, James." "Sarah, get out!" After her brother left, Sarah became even more intrigued. There was something in the piggy bank that interested James, something he hadn't revealed at the law office. She decided to examine the object more carefully. Under a strong light, she noticed there were almost imperceptible marks on the base, as if it were some kind of mechanism. It wasn't just a common piggy bank slot. It seemed to have some kind of lock or secret. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot, as we're just starting out. Now continuing. The next morning, Sarah decided to visit Mrs. Beatrice, an elderly neighbor who had been very close to her father. If anyone knew anything about that piggy bank, it would be her, Mrs. Beatrice lived in a simple little house 2 blocks from the former Harrison family home. At 82 years old, she still kept a vegetable garden in the backyard and received visitors every afternoon. "Sarah, dear, come in, come in." The woman offered a warm smile. "I heard about your father. It was a great loss for all of us." "Thank you, Mrs. Beatrice. Do you have a few minutes to talk?" "Of course, dear. I'll make some coffee." While the woman prepared the coffee, Sarah explained the inheritance situation and showed the little safe. "Ah, that little safe," Mrs. Beatrice smiled nostalgically. "I remember it since your father was a boy. You've known this safe for that long?" "Of course. It belonged to your grandmother Dorothy. She always kept special things in there." Sarah felt her heart race. Her paternal grandmother had passed away when she was very young, but she vaguely remembered a caring woman who always had sweets hidden in her pockets. "What kind of special things?" "Your grandmother was a very wise woman, Sarah. She lost her husband early and raised 7 children alone. Your father was the youngest. She used to say she kept in the safe the treasures that no thief could steal." "Treasures?" "Memories, dear, photos, little letters, small mementos that made her feel rich even without having money." The revelation deeply moved Sarah. If the safe had this family tradition, it made sense that her father had specifically left it to her. "Mrs. Beatrice, do you know if there's a special way to open this safe?" The elderly woman examined the object carefully, running her fingers along the base. "Ah, yes. I remember your grandmother fiddling with it here underneath. She said it had a secret, but she never showed me what it was." "A secret?" "It was like a code, Sarah. Your grandmother talked about the numbers of the heart. I never really understood what it meant. Sarah left Mrs. Beatrice's house with more questions than answers, but now she was sure the safe held something important. The phrase, "numbers of the heart," echoed in her mind. On the way back home, she met Tyler at the corner bakery. "Hi, Sarah. How are you?" Unlike James, Tyler seemed genuinely concerned. He had always been the most sensitive of the three brothers, though he rarely showed it in public. "I'm okay, Tyler. Look, about that day at the lawyer's, I think we were a bit harsh on you." Sarah was surprised by the admission. "A bit harsh? You completely humiliated me." "Yeah, I know. Sorry. It's just that it was really strange, you know. Dad always treated us equally, and then with the inheritance, it seems like he made a weird distinction." "Weird how?" Tyler hesitated before answering. "Sarah, can I be honest with you?" "Of course. James and I are in trouble. Serious trouble." Sarah felt a chill in her stomach. "What kind of trouble?" "James lost a lot of money in bad investments. His construction firm is almost bankrupt, and I owe money to some people who aren't very patient." "Tyler, what kind of debt is this?" "Gambling, Sarah. I started betting small, but it grew. Now I owe more than $50,000. The revelation explained the brothers' strange behavior. They weren't just being cruel, they were desperate for money. "And you think the safe might have money inside?" "I don't know, Sarah. But Dad was always very smart with money. Maybe he saved something special for you." "Tyler, even if there were money in the safe, it wouldn't be much. It's too small to hold significant amounts. $50,000 doesn't take up much space if it's in $100 bills." Sarah realized Tyler had calculated exactly how much money could fit in the safe. "You already measured it?" Tyler blushed. "No. I mean, it's just an estimate." "Tyler, what do you know about this safe that you haven't told me?" "Nothing, Sarah. But your father was always very careful with money, and leaving you with just that doesn't make sense unless what? Unless there's something really important inside it." That afternoon, Sarah received an unexpected call. It was from Deborah, a former employee at the law office where her father worked. "Sarah, dear, it's Deborah. I worked with your father for 15 years. "Hi, Mrs. Deborah. How are you?" "Well, dear, I called because I heard about the inheritance and, well, I wanted to ask you something." "Of course." "Did your father ever give you a pink piggy bank?" Sarah's heart raced. "Yes, he left it to me in the will. Why?" "Oh, that's good. He always talked about that piggy bank, said it was very special." "Do you know anything about it?" "Only that your father carried it in his car for about 2 years before he passed. Whenever he had to do something important, he took the piggy bank with him." "Important like what?" "Oh, when he went to the bank, when he had special meetings. Once I asked why he carried that thing, and he said it was to keep what really mattered." Sarah felt her hands trembling. "Mrs. Deborah, do you have any idea what he kept inside it?" "No, dear, but I can tell you one thing. In the last months of his life, your father would get very emotional whenever he looked at that piggy bank. Once I saw him crying in the office, holding it. When I asked if he was okay, he said he was organizing life's most precious treasures." After hanging up the phone, Sarah felt overwhelmed with emotions. Each new piece of information about the piggy bank increased its importance and its mystery. She decided to try opening the mechanism on the base again. Under a magnifying glass that Chloe had borrowed from the community hospital, she could see the markings better. There were 3 small circles with numbers, forming a kind of combination lock. The phrase "numbers of the heart" came back to her mind. What numbers would be important to her father's heart? She tried several combinations: his birth date, her mother's, her parents' wedding day. Nothing worked. Frustrated, she was about to give up when she remembered something. At her parents' house, there was a frame in the living room with 3 small photos, one of each child as a baby. Her father always said those were the 3 happiest dates of his life. With her heart racing, Sarah tried the combination with the 3 children's birthdays, first James, the 15th, then Tyler, the 22nd, and finally herself, the 8th. The numbers clicked into place, 15 to 2208. A soft click echoed through the room, and the base of the piggy bank opened. What she saw inside made her break down in tears immediately. There was no money, no expensive jewelry. There was something much more precious. The piggy bank was carefully organized with small improvised compartments. In the first, she found 3 baby teeth, one from each child, kept in plastic bags with the dates and names written by hand. In the second compartment, there were dozens of crumpled little notes they had written for their father over the years. Sarah picked up one of the notes with trembling hands. It was a drawing she had made at 6 years old, a stick-figure family under a yellow sun. On the back, in a child's shaky handwriting, it said, "To the coolest dad in the world, I love you so much, Sarah." There were birthday notes, drawings from school, little letters they had slipped under their parents' bedroom door on various occasions, each one carefully kept and preserved for over 20 years. In the third compartment, she found photos. They weren't professional photos, but spontaneous moments someone had captured. Her in her father's arms at 2 years old. The 3 siblings playing in the backyard while their father watched smiling. A photo of her high school graduation with her father beside her, visibly proud. But it was in the fourth compartment that Sarah found the item that made her cry even more. It was the first letter she had written to her father when she learned cursive writing at 8 years old. The letter said, "Dear Daddy, the teacher told us to write to someone special. You are the most special in the world. When I grow up, I want to be just like you, hard-working, caring, and someone who knows how to make everyone laugh. Thank you for teaching me how to ride a bike and for never yelling at me when I make a mistake. Your daughter who loves you very much, Sarah." At the bottom of the keepsake box, there was a sealed envelope with the name Sarah written in her father's distinctive handwriting. With trembling hands, she opened the envelope and found a letter dated just 2 months before his death. "My dear Sarah, if you are reading this letter, it means you managed to open our special keepsake box. I always knew you would be the only one of my children who would understand the true value of what is stored here. Don't be surprised that I chose to give this gift specifically to you. Over all these years, I've watched my 3 children grow and become amazing people, each in their own way. James inherited my determination in business. Tyler got my sense of humor and ability to make friends easily. But you, Sarah, inherited something I consider even more precious: my sensitive heart and the ability to cherish the small moments that make life truly rich. I remember every item stored in this box. I spent years collecting and preserving these little treasures because I knew one day they would be important. In the most difficult moments of my life, when work was heavy or when I worried about you 3, I would open this box and rediscover the reasons why everything was worthwhile. Your childhood letters gave me strength on bad days. The drawings you made reminded me of the purity of a family's love. The photos preserved moments my memory might forget, but my heart would never lose. Sarah, I know your brothers may not initially understand why you received only this keepsake box. They are practical men, they think first about the financial value of things, but I hope that when you show them what is inside, they will understand that you did not receive less, you received much more. You inherited proof that you were deeply loved every day of your life. You inherited the certainty that every caring word you wrote was kept as a treasure. You inherited the responsibility to remind the family what really matters when material things lose their meaning. I always noticed how you were moved by small things: a beautiful sunset, a tight hug, a song that touched the heart. Your brothers are more reserved with their feelings, but you always showed that you understand life is made of simple and precious moments. Therefore, my daughter, you received not just a keepsake box, but the mission to be the guardian of our dearest memories. When I am no longer here to remind you how much you are loved, this box will speak for me. Add your own memories here. Keep special moments from your brothers, your future children, from everyone you love. Transform this box into the living memory of the Harrison family. And always remember, the real treasure is not the coins that make noise when you shake the box. The real treasure is the hearts you touch and the lives you mark with love. You were always my special girl, Sarah, not because I loved you more than your brothers, but because you always knew how to return that love in the purest way possible. Take good care of our memories, my daughter, and be happy always. With all my eternal love, Daddy Sarah cried for almost an hour holding her father's letter. When she finally managed to calm down, she understood perfectly why she had inherited that keepsake box. It wasn't a slight. It was the recognition that she was the right person to guard what was most precious to the family. That night, she called James and Tyler. "We need to meet. Tomorrow at Mom's house. It's about the keepsake box." "Sarah, if you've discovered something, you need to share it with us," James said immediately. "Be there at 2 in the afternoon, and bring your wives. You need to see something." The next day, the whole family gathered in the living room of the house where they had grown up. Mrs. Margaret, their mother, still kept everything as it was when Robert was alive. The siblings arrived visibly anxious. "So, what was in the box?" James asked as soon as he sat down. "Before I show you, I need you to understand something." Sarah held the box on her lap. "These past few days you made me feel humiliated, as if Daddy didn't love me as much as he loved you." "Sarah," Tyler began, but she interrupted him. "Let me finish. You laughed at me, called me naive, suggested I sell the inheritance Daddy left me. You even went so far as to come to my house offering money for the box when you realized it might hold something of value." James and Tyler exchanged uncomfortable glances. "Now I'm going to show you what Daddy really left me, but I want you to promise one thing. You'll stay silent until I finish showing everything." Sarah opened the box and began taking out the items one by one, explaining what each thing represented. She started with the baby teeth, showing how her father had kept one from each child with the exact date they fell out. Tyler was the first to get emotional. "He kept my tooth. I don't even remember giving it to him." "He kept one from all of us," Sarah continued, picking up the little notes. "And look what else is here." She went on showing each letter, each drawing, each photo. James found a note he had written at 10 years old. "Daddy, when I grow up, I'm going to have a firm just like yours and we'll work together. I love you so much, James." I had completely forgotten about this note." James passed his hand over his eyes, trying to hide the tears. When Sarah showed the letter her father had written specifically for her, emotion overwhelmed the whole room. Mrs. Margaret cried quietly on the sofa, remembering her husband. Their sisters-in-law, who had laughed at the box days before, were visibly moved by the discovery. Sarah, Kimberly, James's wife, approached. "I'm sorry for laughing. I had no idea." "None of us did," added Ashley. "Your father kept all this for so many years." James stood up and walked to the window, clearly emotional. When he turned to face the family, his eyes were red. "Sarah, I need to apologize to you, a serious apology." "James, no, let me speak. These last few days I behaved like an idiot. When I heard you had only inherited a keepsake box, I thought Dad had been unfair. I was having financial troubles and I thought maybe there was money hidden in there." Tyler also approached. "Me too, Sarah. I was desperate because of debts and thought Dad might have saved some amount for you, but now I see he gave you something much more valuable than money." "What did he give you?" Sarah asked, genuinely curious. "The certainty that we were loved unconditionally, and the responsibility to remember that forever." Mrs. Margaret rose from the sofa and approached her children. "Kids, I knew about this box. Your father showed it to me a few times over the years. He always said Sarah would be the guardian of the family's memories." "Why didn't you tell us anything, Mom?" James asked. "Because your father made me promise I would let you discover the value of things on your own. He wanted you to learn that not everything precious can be measured in money." Sarah looked at her brothers with a softer expression. "You want to know the truth? When I received only this little box, I also felt passed over. I also thought Dad didn't love me as much as you. But when I opened it and saw all this, I understood that he knew me better than I knew myself." "How so?" Tyler asked. "He knew I would be the only one who would give the true value to these memories. You are more practical. You think first about financial needs. There's nothing wrong with that. But I was always more sentimental." James shook his head. "Sarah, you're right. I look at these little letters and I get emotional. But my first thought really was about money. It's like I've lost the ability to see the value of simple things." "You haven't lost it, James. You just forgot temporarily." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. In the following weeks, The family dynamic changed completely. James and Tyler started visiting Sarah regularly, no longer interested in the little box, but curious about the memories it held. James brought a box from his house full of objects he had kept from his father, a keychain that Robert used at work, a pen he always carried in his shirt pocket, a small notebook where he noted important appointments. "Sarah, I thought maybe you'd want to keep these things too, in the little box or in another special place." Tyler did something similar, bringing old photos he had found among his things. "Look at this one." He showed a yellowed photo. "Dad teaching you to ride a bike. I remember that day. James and I were jealous because he spent the whole afternoon running after you." "You were jealous? I never knew." "We were always a little jealous of the attention Dad gave you," James admitted. "Now I understand it wasn't preference. It's just that you were always more in need of affection, more sensitive. You needed more emotional attention." Sarah was surprised by her brother's honesty. "I always thought you didn't like me because of that. We do like you, Sarah. We just didn't know how to show it properly." The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Mrs. Margaret, who brought a bowl of chocolate chip cookies, the favorite childhood treat of the 3 children. "It's so good to see you 3 talking like this," she smiled. "It had been a while since we saw you together without fights or arguments." "Mum, why did Dad never tell us about the little box?" Sarah asked. Mrs. Margaret sighed and sat down beside her children. "Because he wanted each of you to discover the value of things for yourselves. He said that if he told you about the little box, you might pretend to understand its importance, but you wouldn't truly feel it." "And you? Do you have anything saved from Dad?" Tyler asked. Mrs. Margaret smiled mysteriously and left the room. She returned a few minutes later with a small shoebox. "Actually, I do, but they're different things from yours." She opened the box and showed the contents. Dozens of small folded papers, all written in Robert's handwriting. "What is this?" James took one of the papers and unfolded it. "Margaret looked beautiful this morning. I love how focused she gets making coffee." "Mom, this is..." "Your father wrote little observations about me almost every day for 42 years of marriage. When he noticed I looked pretty when I did something that made him proud, when I hummed while cooking, he wrote it all down." The 3 children were moved, seeing that demonstration of their parents' love. "He never gave you these notes?" Sarah asked. "No. I found the box only after he passed. It was hidden in his closet along with other personal things." Sarah had an idea. "Mom, what if we created a family album, putting the things from the piggy bank, these notes of yours, the photos the boys brought? That way we'd preserve everything in an organized manner." "Good idea," James agreed immediately. "I can have a professional album made, one of those really sturdy ones. And we can keep adding new things," Tyler suggested. "Photos from family gatherings, little letters our children write." The idea excited the whole family. On the following weekends, they would gather at Mrs. Margaret's house to organize the memories and create the album. During one of these gatherings, Kimberly made an interesting observation. "Have you guys noticed how you 3 have changed in the last few weeks? You're closer, more affectionate with each other." It was true. The discovery of the piggy bank had broken barriers that had existed for years between the siblings. "It's as if Dad planned this," Sarah commented. "He knew we would come together because of the piggy bank." "Maybe he did plan it," Mrs. Margaret smiled. "Your father was very smart about understanding people. He knew you 3 had drifted apart a bit in recent years." "What do you mean, drifted apart?" Tyler asked. "James, you were very focused on work. You hardly visited anymore. Tyler, you were always busy with friends and other activities, and Sarah has always been more reserved, especially after she started having financial difficulties." The siblings fell silent, recognizing the truth in their mother's words. "Your dad was worried you'd lose touch after he was gone," Mrs. Margaret continued. "Several times he mentioned to me that he wanted to leave something that would force you to get together." "So the piggy bank was really a plan to unite us?" Sarah asked. "I think it was a plan for you to remember what really matters. The unity was a natural consequence of that." That night, after everyone had left, Sarah stayed alone with the piggy bank. She had decided to add something new, a photo from that afternoon's gathering, where everyone was smiling and organizing the memories together. As she placed the photo in the piggy bank, she murmured, "Thank you, Dad. You got what you wanted." A few weeks later, Sarah received an unexpected call. It was from Mr. Arthur, the owner of a small antique shop in town. "Sarah, I heard you inherited a pink piggy bank from your father. Is it true?" "Yes, Mr. Arthur. Why?" "It's just that your father came here a few times looking for piggy banks like that one. He said he wanted to make some special gifts." Sarah was intrigued. "Special gifts?" "Yes. He bought 3 piggy banks identical to yours. Said he was going to use them to spread some love around. Do you know what he did with those piggy banks?" "I'm not sure, but I remember he always asked about families in town who were going through hard times. I think he donated the piggy banks along with some help." This information left Sarah even more moved. Her father had not only preserved their own family's memories, but had also created similar piggy banks to help other families value their memories. She told her brothers about the discovery at the next family gathering. "So there are other piggy banks like this one scattered around town?" James asked. "It seems so. And Dad would put money in them too, but the focus was to teach people about the importance of family memories." "That's really beautiful," Ashley commented. "Your father was spreading the same lesson he left for you." Tyler had an idea. "What if we continued this tradition? We could create special piggy banks for families in need." "How so?" Sarah asked. "We could look for families going through tough times and give them piggy banks to start their own collections of memories. It doesn't have to be with money, but with the message that memories are precious." The idea excited everyone. James offered to finance the memory boxes, Tyler to identify the families who could benefit, and Sarah to write the letters explaining the importance of keeping special mementos. In the following months, they distributed more than 20 memory boxes around the city, always accompanied by a letter explaining the Harrison family tradition and the importance of cherishing the small moments of family life. One of the families that received a memory box was that of Mrs. Eleanor, an elderly lady who had recently lost her husband and was raising 2 young grandchildren alone. She sought out Sarah a few weeks later to thank her. "Sarah, dear, that memory box changed our lives. I started saving the drawings the children make, the little notes from school. Now they get excited to show me everything because they know I'll keep it in the family memory box." "That's wonderful, Mrs. Eleanor. That's exactly what we hoped for. But the most important thing is that I learned to cherish the simple moments with them. Before, I was so worried about the difficulties that I forgot to pay attention to the good things that happen every day. Stories like this multiplied throughout the city. The Memory Box Project, as it became known, began to transform how several families dealt with their memories and relationships. Sarah realized that, in an indirect way, her father continued to spread love and unity even after he was gone. The memory box she had inherited wasn't just an object. It was the beginning of a movement that strengthened family bonds throughout the community. During one of the family gatherings, James made an important revelation. "Sarah, I need to tell you something. Remember I was having financial troubles?" "Of course. You said the firm was doing poorly." "Right. But after we started this memory box project, I completely changed my way of thinking about money and work." "How so?" "I started to value what really matters more. I began working fewer hours and dedicating more time to the family. And you know what happened? The firm started doing better." Kimberly, James's wife, confirmed. "It's true, Sarah. He was so stressed he couldn't make good decisions. When he relaxed and started focusing on what matters, everything improved." Tyler had also made significant changes. "I stopped gambling," he announced. "I realized I was trying to get easy money because I didn't value what I already had. Now I'm paying off my debts little by little and feeling much better." "Really, Tyler?" Sarah was moved. "Really. That memory box made me realize I was wasting time chasing after things that weren't going to make me truly happy." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. 6 months after opening the memory box, the Harrison family was completely transformed. The weekly gatherings became a tradition, the memory album grew constantly, and the memory box project had spread to other neighboring towns. Sarah got a new job at a school in the city, where she worked as a library assistant. The salary wasn't very high, but she was happy because she could help other people discover the value of reading and knowledge. During one of these family gatherings, Mrs. Margaret made a special announcement. "Kids, I have a surprise for you." She left the room and returned carrying a large box. "What's that, Mum?" James asked. "They're more of your dad's things that I found in the attic." She opened the box and revealed dozens of objects, more old photos, letters that Robert had received from friends throughout his life, small gifts that his children had given him on various occasions, and even a diary he kept during the early years of his marriage. "Mom, why didn't you show this before?" Sarah asked. "Because I wanted to be sure you understood the value of these things. Now I know you do." They spent the rest of the afternoon examining each item. The diary revealed a young and passionate Robert, writing about the dreams he had for the family he was building. "Today, Margaret told me she is expecting our first child. I feel a happiness I cannot describe. I want to be the best father in the world, to give my children everything I never had," Sarah read aloud from one of the diary entries. "He succeeded," Tyler commented, his voice choked. He really was the best father in the world. Among the objects, they found something that surprised them: 3 small boxes, each with the name of one of the children. "What is this?" James picked up the box with his name. Inside each box were small personal items that Robert had kept from each child over the years. In James's, a small toy car he loved when he was 5, a medal from a school soccer championship, and a photo of him graduating high school. In Tyler's box, a drawing he had made of his father when he was 7, a bracelet he had given as a Father's Day gift, and a ticket stub from the first movie they watched together at the theater. In Sarah's box, a small teddy bear she carried everywhere when she was little, a beaded bracelet she made in school, and the first essay she wrote about the family. "He kept our things all these years," Sarah was crying again. "And we never even knew." "It's like each of us has a personal memory box," James observed. "Perhaps that's the message," Mrs. Margaret suggested, "that we all keep special memories of those we love, even without realizing it." That night, the 3 siblings decided to take their personal boxes home, but they committed to including these items in the family album they were creating. Sarah returned to her apartment with a full heart. Chloe, her friend, was in the kitchen preparing dinner. "How was the meeting today?" she asked. "Incredible, Chloe. Every week we discover something new about Dad and about ourselves. You've changed a lot these past few months, Sarah. You're more confident, happier." It was true. The discovery of the memory box had transformed not only Sarah's family relationships, but also her self-esteem and outlook on life. "You know what impresses me the most?" Sarah said while organizing the items from her personal box. "Dad didn't just keep our memories. He created a system so we would keep creating memories together after he was gone." "How so?" "These family meetings, the album we're making, the memory box project, all of it forces us to spend time together and create new memories. It's as if he planned our future unity." Chloe smiled. "Your father must have been a very wise man." "He was. And the most beautiful part is that he taught us that true love doesn't end with death. It continues through the memories we keep and the traditions we keep alive." A few weeks later, Sarah received a phone call that moved her deeply. It was from a journalist at the local newspaper who had heard about the Memory Box project. "Sarah, I'd like to do a story about what you're doing. It's a very beautiful story." "I don't know if we want publicity," Sarah hesitated. "It's something very personal for our family." "I understand, but think of the good a feature story could do. Other families in other cities could find inspiration and start their own traditions of preserving memories." Sarah spoke with her siblings and they agreed to give the interview, as long as the focus was on the message and not their personal problems. The article was published a few weeks later with the title, "The Pink Piggy Bank That United a Family." The response was much greater than they expected. Families from various parts of the country began getting in touch, wanting to know more about how to create their own memory-preserving traditions. Some sent photos of piggy banks they had bought to start their own collections of mementos. A lady from another state wrote, I read the article about you and was very moved. My adult children rarely visit me, and when they do, they are on their phones the whole time. I bought a piggy bank just like yours and started storing old family photos. On their next visit, I will show them and tell the stories behind each photo. I hope it brings us closer like it did for you." Another family sent a photo of their own memory album. "Inspired by your story, we created our own family album. Our young children are now excited to save drawings and little letters. Thank you for showing us that the simple things are the most precious." Sarah was moved by every message she received. The pink piggy bank had become the symbol of a national movement to value family memories. During a family meeting, James brought up an interesting proposal. "Everyone, what if we created a small foundation? Nothing big, but something official to distribute piggy banks and teach families about the importance of keepsakes." "A foundation?" Sarah was curious. "Yes, we could call it the Robert Harrison Foundation, or something like that. The goal would be to spread Dad's message in a more organized way." Tyler liked the idea. "We could partner with schools, nursing homes, shelters, teach people to value their personal stories." Mrs. Margaret was moved by the proposal. "Your father would be so proud to know his name is being used to spread love and unity among families." They spent the following months organizing the foundation. Sarah became the executive director, James handled the financial side, and Tyler was responsible for partnerships and outreach. The first official action of the Robert Harrison Foundation was a campaign in local schools. They visited classrooms teaching children about the importance of keeping family memories and gifted each class with a piggy bank to be used as the class piggy bank, where they would store photos and special mementos from the school year. A teacher commented, "It's amazing how the children changed after your visit. They go home asking their parents about family stories, asking to see old photos. They are more interested in their own roots." In nursing homes, the approach was different. Sarah and the foundation volunteers helped the elderly organize their personal memories, creating small albums that could be shared with family during visits. Mrs. Dorothy, 89 years old, said, "It had been years since I talked about my youth. Now, when my grandchildren visit, we always have a new story to share. They are fascinated hearing about what life was like in the old days." The foundation's work grew quickly, but Sarah always made sure to keep the weekly family meetings. That time together had become sacred to everyone. During one of these meetings, almost a year after the discovery of the piggy bank, Mrs. Margaret made a special observation. "Have you noticed how our family has grown?" "How so, Mom?" Sarah asked. "It used to be just the 5 of us, me, you 3, and the girls." She was referring to her daughters-in-law. "Now we've included Chloe as part of the family. We have dozens of families we consider friends through the foundation. It's as if love had multiplied." It was true. The family circle had naturally expanded to include all the people touched by the message of the pink piggy bank. Chloe, who had become practically a daughter to Mrs. Margaret, commented, "I never had a very close-knit family. You showed me how important it is to have people who genuinely care for each other." That night, Sarah added a photo from that day's gathering to the piggy bank. There were over 15 people in the room, among biological family, extended family, and close friends, all smiling, all connected by the same message of love and unity. As she placed the photo in the piggy bank, she murmured again, "Thank you, Dad. You planted a small seed that grew into a giant tree." 2 years after the discovery of the piggy bank, the Robert Harrison Foundation had already distributed over 1,000 piggy banks across the country. Sarah had left her job at the school to dedicate herself full-time to the project, which now supported her financially through donations and partnerships. James had expanded his business to include a line of handmade products related to memory preservation, personalized albums, memory boxes, themed piggy banks. Part of the profits was directed to the foundation. Tyler had found his true calling as a speaker. He traveled the country telling the story of the Harrison family and teaching about the importance of family bonds. His talks always ended with moved and inspired audiences. But perhaps the most beautiful transformation was in the family dynamic itself. The siblings who once saw each other only on special occasions now talked daily, shared important decisions, and supported each other through all challenges. During a talk Tyler gave at a university, a student asked an interesting question. What was the moment you realized that Piggy Bank had changed your lives forever? Tyler thought for a moment before answering, I think it was when I realized we stopped measuring our achievements by what we had and started measuring them by what we shared. The piggy bank didn't give us money, but it gave us something infinitely more valuable, the certainty that we are loved and the responsibility to spread that love. The answer was met with an emotional round of applause. That same day, Sarah was at home organizing the latest piggy bank donations when she received a special call. It was from a family from another country who had read about the story online. Sarah, I'm Emily from Canada. I read about you and was very moved. My family is going through a tough time. The adult children haven't spoken in years because of an inheritance. Could you possibly help us? Of course, Emily, how can we help? I was wondering if it's possible for you to send a piggy bank here. I want to try to bring my children together, using the same strategy as your father. Sarah was moved to realize the message had crossed oceans. Emily, we'll do better than that. I'll create a special kit for you, with detailed instructions on how to start your own family memory tradition. In the following months, the Robert Harrison Foundation began receiving requests from various countries. The story of the pink piggy bank had become an international symbol of family unity and valuing memories. Sarah created an international version of the project, translated into several languages, always maintaining the essence of the original message. A family's true treasure is not material possessions, but the memories and love shared over the years. During one of these international distributions, she received a moving video. It was from a Japanese family who had received a kit. In the images, 3 adult siblings who hadn't spoken in 10 years were gathered, crying as they looked at old photos of their parents. At the center of the table, a pink piggy bank like Sarah's. The video ended with the 3 siblings hugging and promising to meet monthly to add new memories to the family collection. It's incredible, Chloe, Sarah commented to her friend as they watched the video. A message that started in a small town in the Brazilian countryside reached Japan and is reuniting families there too. Your father must be very proud from wherever he is, Chloe smiled. I'm sure he is. And you know what else moves me? What? That this message will keep spreading long after we're gone. Just like Daddy planted a seed that only blossomed after he left, we're planting seeds that will bloom for generations. 3 years after the discovery of the piggy bank, the Harrison family organized a special gathering. It was the anniversary of Robert's passing, and they wanted to do something special to honor him. They decided to organize a large meeting in the town's church hall, inviting all the families who had been helped by the piggy banks over the years. The event was emotional. Over 200 people attended, each carrying their own piggy bank or memory album. There were performances by children who sang songs about family, testimonies from adults who had reconciled with relatives after receiving the piggy banks, and a photo exhibition showing all the families impacted by the project. During her speech, Sarah was moved to see so many people gathered because of a message that started with a simple pink piggy bank. 3 years ago, when I inherited this piggy bank, she held up the original object, I felt humiliated and forgotten. Today I realize I inherited the most beautiful responsibility of my life, to spread love and unity among families. My father didn't leave me money or material possessions, but he gave me something infinitely more valuable, a lesson that is transforming lives in several countries around the world. He taught me that a person's true treasure isn't in what they accumulate, but in what they share. The audience rose in an emotional standing ovation. At the end of the event, the 3 international families who had reconciled through the piggy bank sent thank you videos. One of them, from France, said, "Thank you, Harrison family. You gave us back what we had lost many years ago, the joy of being together. Our French piggy bank is full of new memories we've created since reconciling." That night, after everyone had left, Sarah, James, and Tyler sat in the living room of the house where they grew up. Mrs. Margaret had prepared hot chocolate, a family tradition on cold nights. "Do you think Daddy imagined it would be like this?" James asked. I think he knew we were capable of great things when we were united, Sarah answered, but I don't know if he imagined it would reach so far. Tyler took the original piggy bank from Sarah's hands and shook it gently. It still makes the same sound as when you received it. That's because we haven't taken anything out. We've only added. How so? All the new photos we keep, all the recent memories, everything goes into the album. But Daddy's original things remain exactly as he left them. James smiled. That's beautiful. It's like we keep the essence of his message intact, but keep building upon it. Exactly. Mrs. Margaret, who had been listening silently to her children, approached with a suggestion. Kids, I have an idea. What if each of you created your own piggy bank for your future children and grandchildren? How do you mean, Mum? You could start saving memories from your current lives, from the special moments you're living now. So, when you have children, you'll already have a treasure trove of memories to pass on. The idea enchanted the three siblings. That same week, each bought their own memory box and began storing personal mementos, photos from family gatherings, tickets from special events, small objects that marked important moments. Sarah added to her personal box a photo from the first talk she gave about the project, a thank you card from a family that had reconciled, and a small stone she had picked up on the beach during a special trip with Chloe. James kept in his box a photo from the Foundation's first meeting, a drawing his nephew had made of him, and a letter from a businessman congratulating him on the success of the handmade products. Tyler included in his box a program from the first lecture he gave, a bracelet he had received from a child after a performance, and a photo of the whole family at Robert's birthday event. 6 months later, James made an announcement that moved the entire family. Everyone, I have news, Kimberly is pregnant. The room erupted in shouts of joy. It would be the first grandchild of the Harrison family, and everyone knew the child would grow up surrounded by stories and traditions of preserving memories. I already know what my first gift for the baby will be, Sarah smiled. What? A pink or blue memory box, depending on the gender, so you can start saving his first memories from the pregnancy. The tradition was perpetuating to a new generation. 9 months later, Noah Harrison was born, the family's first grandchild. From the first days of life, everything related to him was carefully documented and saved. The first ultrasound, the hospital bracelet, the first drawing he managed to make by scribbling on paper. During a family gathering when Noah was 6 months old, Sarah made a moving observation. Look at this. She showed the memory box James and Kimberly had created for the baby. This box is almost full already, and Noah can't even talk yet. Imagine how many memories he'll have when he grows up. And the most beautiful thing, added Mrs. Margaret, holding her grandson in her lap, is that he'll grow up knowing that every moment of his life is precious and deserves to be preserved. Kimberly, who had initially mocked Sarah's memory box, was now one of the tradition's biggest enthusiasts. Sarah, I need to apologize to you again. On the day of the will reading, I laughed at you for valuing the box. Today I realize you received the most valuable inheritance of all. Don't worry, Kimberly. What's important is that now we all understand the message. What message? Asked Noah in his baby talk, as if participating in the conversation. Everyone laughed, but Sarah replied seriously, The message, Noah, is that true love isn't measured by what you have, but by what you keep in your heart. 4 years after the discovery of the memory box, the Robert Harrison Foundation had become an internationally recognized organization. Sarah had written a book telling the family's story, which became a bestseller in several countries. The book, titled The Pink Box, A Lesson in Love That Crossed Oceans, reached several bestseller lists and was translated into 15 languages. During a book signing in New York City, a lady approached Sarah with tears in her eyes. Sarah, I read your book, and I need to thank you. My family was completely broken. My 3 children hadn't spoken to each other in years. I bought 3 memory boxes, one for each, and started gathering memories from when they were little. It took me a month to convince them to meet, but when I showed them what I had saved, they cried just like you and your siblings. And now? Sarah asked. Now we meet every Sunday at my house. We've created our own memory album, and we're planning a trip together at the end of the year. It had been 15 years since we traveled as a family. Stories like this arrived for Sarah every day. The impact of the pink piggy bank had surpassed all expectations. During an interview for a national television program, the host asked a question that made her reflect deeply. "Sarah, if you could talk to your father today, what would you say to him?" Sarah thought for a moment before answering. "I would say, thank you for knowing me better than I know myself. Thank you for entrusting me with the safekeeping of our most precious memories. And thank you for teaching me that a person's true legacy isn't the possessions they leave behind, but the love they spread." "And what do you think he would say in response?" Sarah smiled through her tears. "I think he would say, 'Sarah, you took a tiny seed and turned it into a forest. Now it's your responsibility to care for it so that forest keeps growing and spreading shade for those who need it.'" The interview was seen by millions of people and generated a new wave of requests for the foundation. 5 years after the discovery of the piggy bank, the Harrison family organized a special celebration. It was the 5-year anniversary of the Robert Harrison Foundation, and they wanted to mark the date in a meaningful way. They decided to hold a large gathering in the city park, inviting all the families in the region who had been impacted by the piggy banks. The event grew so much they had to move it to the municipal stadium. Over 5,000 people attended, each carrying their own piggy bank or memory album. There were musical performances, emotional testimonials, and a large photo exhibition showing families from dozens of countries who had reconciled through the project. The most emotional moment was when Noah, now 4 years old, climbed onto the stage carrying his own little piggy bank. "This is my piggy bank," he said, in his small child's voice into the microphone. "My grandma Margaret taught me that I keep happy moments in here. And do you know what my happiest moment is?" The audience fell silent, curious. "It's when my whole family is together, like today. That's why I'm going to keep a picture from today in my piggy bank." The audience rose in an emotional standing ovation. Noah had expressed with a child's simplicity the essence of the entire Harrison family message. After the event, as the family gathered for dinner at home, Mrs. Margaret made a special observation. "Robert, if he were here, would be so proud to see what that simple piggy bank he left for Sarah has become." "Mom, sometimes I feel like he is here," Sarah commented, "as if every family that reconciles is a way for him to keep spreading love." "Maybe that's exactly it," James smiled. "Maybe we are the instruments he chose to continue his mission." Tyler, who was organizing some photos from the event, raised an interesting point. "Guys, have you ever stopped to think about how many families have been directly or indirectly impacted by our piggy bank?" "Many," Sarah answered. "No, seriously. Let's calculate. We've directly distributed over 2,000 piggy banks. Each piggy bank impacts an average family of 4. That's 8,000 people. But each of those people will spread the message to friends, relatives. Multiplying by a conservative factor of 3, we get 24,000 people who have somehow been touched by our father's story." 24,000 people? Sarah was impressed. "And that's only counting the US. If we include other countries, we've probably passed over 100,000 people impacted." Mrs. Margaret was moved by the numbers. 100,000 people have learned about family love because of Robert. It's a beautiful legacy. "And it will keep growing," Sarah added. "Every family that reconciles will teach this to their children, who will teach it to their grandchildren." That night, Sarah added a special photo to the original memory box, an aerial image of the packed stadium during the day's event. On the back of the photo, she wrote, "Daddy, 5 years later, your little seed has become a forest so big we can't even count the trees anymore. Thank you for teaching me that love multiplies when we share it. Your daughter who loves you forever, Sarah." 7 years after the discovery of the memory box, Sarah was organizing the foundation's files when she found a special letter. It was from a 12-year-old girl from another country who had received a memory box through the international project. "Dear Sarah, my name is Lily and I live in Australia. My parents got divorced when I was 8, and since then they haven't spoken properly. This made me very sad because I loved them both. Last year my teacher told us your story and gave us memory boxes to keep special memories in. I had an idea. I started keeping photos in my box of good times I had with my dad and my mum separately. One day, when I was very sad, I decided to show the box to them. When they saw the photos and read the little notes I wrote about how good it was to have them both as parents, they started to cry. They didn't get back together, but now they can talk normally, and we even go out together sometimes for lunch or to the park. My memory box helped them remember that, even though they're apart, we're still a family. Thank you for teaching me that good memories are stronger than fights. With love, Lily P.S. I'm sending a photo of my memory box. It's blue because I couldn't find a pink one here, but it works the same. Sarah cried reading the letter. A 12-year-old girl had used the memory box lesson to bring her parents together in a way she had never even imagined. She immediately called her siblings to share the letter. It's amazing, commented James, how children can use this message in ways we wouldn't even think of. Lily created a variation of our story, observed Tyler. Instead of inheriting memories, she created memories to heal relationships. It's a natural evolution of the idea. Sarah smiled. Daddy planted a seed, we helped it grow, and now other people are creating their own trees. That afternoon, Sarah wrote a special reply to Lily, congratulating her on her creativity and the results she achieved. She also sent along a pink Australian memory box she had specially made for her. 2 months later, Lily sent an emotional video. It was her and her parents, together with grandparents and other relatives, all around a table full of colourful memory boxes. Each family member had created their own memory box, and they gathered monthly to share new memories. The video ended with Lily saying, "Thank you, Sarah. You taught me that even when families separate, love can keep growing if we take good care of the good memories." Sarah was so moved that she decided to include Lily's story in her second book, which she was writing about the international adaptations of the Memory Box project. 10 years after the discovery of the original Memory Box, Sarah was organizing a decade retrospective when she noticed something fascinating. The project had evolved far beyond what she had initially imagined. There were now variations of the memory box for different situations, reconciliation boxes, like Lily's, for separated families, adoption boxes for adopted children to keep memories with their new families, longing boxes for people who have lost loved ones, gratitude boxes for families to learn to appreciate what they have, dream boxes for families to define and pursue goals together. Each variation maintained the original essence of Robert Harrison's message, but adapted to specific needs. During an international conference on family therapy in Lisbon, Sarah was invited as the keynote speaker. In her presentation, she showed impressive data. Over 50 countries had adopted versions of the Memory Jar project. More than 100,000 families had been directly impacted. 89% of families who participated in the project reported significant improvements in relationships. The project had been adopted by over 500 schools, 200 retirement homes, and 150 family therapy centers, but the numbers that moved her the most were others. 15,000 thank you letters received, 3,200 documented stories of reconciliation, 847 marriages saved through the project, 1,250 relationships between parents and adult children restored. These numbers represent much more than statistics, Sarah said during her lecture. Each number is a family that rediscovered love, a child who feels more loved, an elderly person who doesn't feel forgotten. After the lecture, a family psychologist approached her. "Sarah, I've worked for 20 years in family therapy, and I've never seen such a simple tool be so effective. What you've discovered is revolutionary." "We didn't discover anything new," Sarah smiled. "We just rediscovered something that always existed, the power of cherished memories to strengthen family bonds." "But why does it work so well?" "Because when people see concrete evidence of happy moments they lived together, it becomes very hard to hold on to grudges and resentments. Good memories have the power to heal wounded relationships." That night, in her hotel room in Lisbon, Sarah opened her own personal memory jar. Along with the original mementos from her father, there were now dozens of new items: photos of reconciled families, thank you letters from children, speaking invitations, small gifts she had received over the years. But the most precious item was a recent photo of Noah, now 7 years old, teaching a younger cousin how to organize her own memory jar. The tradition was being naturally passed to the third generation. 12 years after the discovery of the memory jar, Sarah took stock of her personal life. At 42, she had found her life's mission in a way she never imagined. The girl who once felt humiliated for inheriting only a pink memory jar was now internationally recognized as an expert on family bonds. She had published 3 books, given hundreds of lectures, and impacted thousands of lives around the world. But what made her proudest wasn't the external recognition. It was the fact that her own family had become a living example of the message they spread. James, who once laughed at the memory jar, was now a dedicated father who carefully documented every special moment with Noah. Tyler had married a wonderful woman named Vanessa, and they were expecting their first child. The family had grown, but the weekly gatherings remained sacred. They now met at the larger house James had bought, with enough space to accommodate the entire extended family. During one of these gatherings, Noah asked a question that deeply touched Sarah. "Aunt Sarah, why isn't Grandpa Robert here to see how famous his memory jar became?" Sarah knelt down to be at eye level with the boy. "Noah, you know what I think? I think Grandpa Robert is watching everything. Every time a family reconciles because of the memory jar, every time someone learns to cherish their memories, Grandpa Robert becomes a little more present in the world." "How so?" "The love he planted in the memory jar keeps growing through the people who learn the message. It's as if he's immortal through the love he spread." Noah thought for a moment and smiled. "So when I teach my kids about memory jars, will Grandpa Robert be there too?" "Absolutely, Noah. And when your children teach their children and so on, Grandpa Robert's love will live on forever." That night, Sarah added a photo of the conversation with Noah to the family album. In the caption, she wrote, "The Harrison family's third generation already understands that true love is eternal when it is shared." 15 years after the discovery of the piggy bank, Sarah was preparing a special presentation. The Robert Harrison Foundation had been invited to present the project at the United Nations General Assembly as an example of a civil initiative that strengthens family bonds worldwide. It was an extraordinary honor. The pink piggy bank that once provoked cruel laughter would now be presented at the world's foremost forum as a model for promoting family peace. During her preparation, Sarah reflected on the 15-year journey, from a seemingly worthless inheritance to an internationally recognized project, from a family fragmented by differences to an example of unity and common purpose. She thought of all the letters she had received over the years, all the families that had reunited, all the relationships that had been healed. The impact had been far greater than any monetary inheritance could have provided. The night before the UN presentation, James, Tyler, and Mrs. Margaret traveled to New York City to support Sarah. It was the first time the entire family was together on an international trip. During dinner, James raised a toast. "Sarah, 15 years ago, when you left the law office crying with that piggy bank, none of us imagined where this would lead. Today, you will represent a Canadian message of family love at the world's foremost forum. Dad would be immensely proud." "We are all proud," added Tyler. "You took the most precious inheritance that existed and multiplied its value infinitely." Mrs. Margaret, now 85 but still lucid and active, held her daughter's hand. "Sarah, my dear, you have honored your father's memory in a way that goes beyond any expectation he could have had. You transformed a personal act of love into a worldwide mission of family unity." The next day, Sarah stepped onto the podium of the UN General Assembly carrying the original pink piggy bank. Before representatives from 193 countries, she told the story that had begun in a small town in the countryside of Canada. "Ladies and gentlemen representatives, I bring a simple but powerful message today. World peace begins with family peace. When families learn to value their shared memories, bonds are strengthened. United families create stronger communities, and strong communities build more peaceful nations." She continued, "This pink piggy bank represents something that transcends cultures, religions, and borders: the universal power of family love. In the last 15 years, we have seen families from dozens of countries rediscover the value of being together through a simple lesson: Keep your happy memories, for they are more precious than any material treasure. The presentation was met with a standing ovation. Several delegations later approached to request information on how to implement versions of the Piggy Bank project in their countries. The UN Secretary-General at the end of the event made a special remark. The Harrison family story reminds us that the greatest social transformations often begin with the simplest gestures. A father who saved memories of his children created a movement that today impacts families all over the world. That night Sarah called Chloe, who had remained in Canada overseeing the foundation. "Chloe, can you believe we've come this far?" "I always believed it, Sarah. From the first day you showed me that piggy bank, I knew there was something special there." "What did you know?" "I knew you had received exactly what you needed to find your life's purpose. Your father knew you better than anyone. He knew you had the right heart to spread this message." Sarah looked out the hotel window, seeing the lights of New York City. Somewhere in that city, there were families who could benefit from the message of the pink piggy bank. And soon, perhaps, it would happen. 20 years after discovering the piggy bank, Sarah organized a very special celebration. Noah, now 17, had become a young man engaged in the family mission. He had created a smartphone app that helped families organize their digital memories using the principles of the pink piggy bank. "Aunt Sarah," Noah showed the app during a family meeting, "I thought of a way to bring great-grandfather Robert's message into the digital age. People can save photos, videos, audio and special texts about the family, organized like a virtual piggy bank." The app, called Memory Piggy Bank, was launched for free and in 6 months already had 500,000 users worldwide. Sarah was moved seeing how the new generation was naturally and creatively expanding the original message. Noah had found a way to make the project accessible for families living far apart, geographically, but wanting to keep their emotional bonds strong. During the official launch of the app, Noah gave a speech that moved the whole family. "My great-grandfather Robert never knew the internet, but he understood something many people today forget. Technology only has value when it brings people closer, not when it pushes them apart. This app is a way to use technology to strengthen family bonds, exactly like the physical pink piggy bank has done for 20 years. Tyler, now a father of 2 young children, commented, "It's amazing to see how each generation finds its own way to honor Father's message. We spread the idea in the physical world. Noah is taking it to the digital world. And our children will probably find ways we can't even imagine yet," James added. Sarah was particularly proud because Noah had developed the app as his high school graduation project. He had interviewed hundreds of families helped by the physical piggy banks, identified their needs in the digital world, and created an innovative technological solution. "Noah, your great-grandfather would be so proud," Mrs. Margaret said with shining eyes. "You have honored his memory in a way that combines tradition with innovation." But perhaps the most moving moment of the celebration was when Sarah opened the original piggy bank and showed all the items that had been added over the years. Besides her father's original mementos, there were now photos of families from dozens of countries who had reconciled, thank you letters from thousands of people, invitations to important events, small symbolic objects received throughout the journey, photos of the Foundation's main achievements, a printed copy of key articles and recognitions, photos of Noah growing up and developing as the traditions continue. This piggy bank now tells the story of an entire family, but also the story of thousands of other families, Sarah observed. "It has become a much larger symbol than my father could have imagined." 25 years after discovering the piggy bank, Sarah was writing her memoirs. The book, titled 25 Years of Memories, The Complete Journey of the Pink Piggy Bank, would be the definitive account of the experience. At 52, she reflected on how her life had been completely transformed by that seemingly insignificant inheritance. From an insecure young woman with financial troubles, she had become a world-renowned expert on family bonds. From someone who felt overlooked by her siblings, she had become the unifying bond of a family that served as an example for thousands of others. The Robert Harrison Foundation now operated in 78 countries, had distributed over 100,000 physical piggy banks, and Noah's app had more than 3 million active users. But the numbers that made her most proud were personal. 25 years of uninterrupted weekly family meetings, 3 generations of the Harrison family involved in the project, 1 pink piggy bank that remained intact and precious as on the first day, countless happy memories created and preserved. During one of the last interviews she gave for the book, Sarah was asked what had been the most memorable moment of the project's 25 years. "It was when I understood that my father had not left me a piggy bank," she answered. "He had left me a mission, and that mission wasn't just to keep our family memories, but to teach the whole world about the value of family memories." "And what is your expectation for the next 25 years?" Sarah smiled. "My expectation is that I won't need to do anything. The seed is planted, the roots are deep, the tree is strong. Now it's up to the new generations to decide how it will continue to grow. Do you believe the message will survive without your direct leadership?" "I'm certain it will." "Do you know why? Because it doesn't depend on me. The message is universal and timeless. Families that value their shared memories are more united and happier. That has always been true, and always will be true, regardless of who is spreading the message." Upon finishing the book, Sarah wrote a special dedication. "To Robert Harrison, my father, who knew how to transform a simple pink piggy bank into the most precious gift a daughter could receive. To all who understood that a family's true treasure lies not in what it possesses, but in what it shares. And to the future generations of the Harrison family, who will continue spreading love through memories preserved with care." 30 years after the discovery of the piggy bank, the Harrison family organized the most special celebration of all. It was the project's 30th anniversary, and they decided to do something historic. A worldwide gathering of all the families that had been impacted by the piggy banks over the years. The event would be held in the family's hometown, but with simultaneous broadcasts to meeting points in 50 countries. It would be the largest gathering of piggy bank families in history. Sarah, now 57, was emotionally prepared to give what she considered her farewell speech from active leadership of the project. Noah, with a degree in software engineering and married to an educator named Grace, was gradually taking over leadership of the foundation. James, at 65, had retired from business to dedicate himself fully to volunteer work at the foundation. Tyler, at 62, continued traveling the world giving lectures, now accompanied by his own adult children. Mrs. Margaret, at 95, remained lucid and active. She would be honored at the event as the matriarch of the Piggy Bank family, a title that moved her deeply. On the day of the event, over 10,000 people gathered in the city stadium, representing families from every continent. The international broadcast points gathered another 50,000 people simultaneously. Noah opened the event with a presentation on the project's technological evolution. The app had become a complete platform for strengthening family bonds, with video conferencing features for distant families, games that encouraged memory sharing, and even artificial intelligence to suggest family bonding activities. Tyler presented the global impact numbers. Over 2 million families directly benefited, presence on every continent, adoption by universities as a research methodology on family bonds, and recognition by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. James showed the project's financial sustainability. The combination of sales from artisanal products, app licensing, and donations had made the foundation completely self-sufficient, ensuring its continuity independent of any specific leadership. But it was Sarah's speech that marked the celebration. 30 years ago, when I opened a pink memory box in a small room in our town, I was just trying to understand why my father had left me that as an inheritance. Today, looking at this crowd of families gathered for the same purpose, I understand that he didn't leave me an inheritance. He entrusted me with a legacy. A legacy that doesn't belong to the Harrison family, but to all families in the world who believe in the power of shared memories. A legacy that will continue to live long after all of us here are no longer in this world. My father, Robert Harrison, was a simple man, an accountant at a small firm, married, 3 kids, an ordinary life. But he understood something profound about human nature, that people need concrete evidence that they are loved to feel truly secure and happy. He kept our memories not for the past, but for the future, so that we would never doubt his love even after his passing. And that same logic works for all families. When we keep and share happy moments, We build a solid foundation of love that withstands any difficulty." She paused and looked at the crowd. "Today, I officially pass the leadership of the Robert Harrison Foundation to the new generation. Noah and Grace, along with the children of James and Tyler, will guide this project into the future. My role as guardian of the memories is complete." The crowd rose in a standing ovation that lasted over 10 minutes. The most emotional moment was when Mrs. Margaret, even at 95 years old, asked to come up on stage. With Noah's help, she walked to the microphone and with a clear and firm voice said, "My husband Robert passed 30 years ago, but today I see that he never really left. Every family that hugs a little tighter, every child who feels more loved, every grandparent who has their stories valued, all of that is my Robert continuing to live in the world. Thank you for keeping alive the memory of the man I loved my whole life." There wasn't a dry eye in the stadium. The event ended with something symbolic and emotional. All 10,000 people present simultaneously raised their memory boxes or phones with the app open, creating a sea of objects representing millions of preserved family memories. Drones filmed the scene from above, creating an image that became iconic, an entire stadium of people celebrating family love through small objects and devices that held their most precious memories. That night, Sarah added one last photo to the original memory box, the aerial image of the stadium during the final symbolic moment. On the back of the photo, she wrote, "Dad, 30 years later, your little seed has grown into a worldwide forest of family love. Mission accomplished. Your eternally grateful daughter, Sarah." 2 years later, Sarah received a call that moved her deeply. It was from Lily, the Australian girl who had reconciled her divorced parents using a blue memory box. "Sarah? It's Lily, remember me?" "Lily, of course I remember. How are you? You must be all grown up now." "I'm 26 and finishing my PhD in family psychology. Sarah, I need to tell you something. My thesis is on the impact of memory objects on family reconciliation. I used the Memory Box project as the main case study." "That's incredible, Lily. And what were your conclusions?" "I discovered something fascinating. When families in conflict are exposed to physical evidence of shared happy moments, there is a specific neurological activation that reduces hostility and increases empathy. The memory box works because it provides this evidence in an organized and ritualized way." "Does that mean there's a scientific basis for what we've observed in practice?" "Exactly, and more. My research shows the method is effective regardless of culture, religion, or family structure. It's truly universal, as you've always said." Sarah Harrison was moved to learn that the girl who had once been helped by the project was now contributing to scientifically validate its efficacy. "Lily, would you like to present your research at a conference for our foundation?" "It would be an honor. In fact, I have a proposal. What if we created a permanent academic research program about the Memory Box project? We can establish partnerships with universities all over the world to study different aspects of its impact on families." The idea excited Sarah. In the following months, together with Noah and the Foundation's new leadership, she helped establish the Lily Program for Research on Family Bonds, an international network of academic researchers studying the scientific aspects of family-strengthening methods through memory objects. The program quickly attracted researchers from Harvard, Oxford, Sorbonne, and other prestigious universities. Within 5 years, over 200 scientific papers on the topic were published, solidifying the Memory Box project as an academically recognized method. 35 years after the discovery of the Memory Box, Sarah was in her law office organizing personal files when she found something special. The first letter she had received from a family thanking her for the Memory Box. It was from a lady named Dorothy, from a small town in the Northeast, who had received one of the first memory boxes distributed by the Foundation. The letter, yellowed with time, said, "Dear Sarah, my name is Dorothy Harrison. We're not related, but what a coincidence with the last name. I received your pink memory box 6 months ago, and I need to thank you. I've been a widow for 10 years and have 4 children who live in different cities. They visit me little, and when they do, they always seem to be in a hurry. After I started using the memory box to keep photos and mementos from when they were little, Everything changed. Now when they come to visit, we spend hours looking at the things in the box and talking about the past. My youngest son, who is the most distant, cried when he saw a drawing he made for me when he was 7. He said he didn't remember loving me so much when he was little. Now he calls me every week. Thank you for giving me back my children. The memory box gave me back my family. With affection and gratitude, Dorothy Harrison. Sarah reread the letter several times, remembering the emotion she had felt upon receiving it 35 years before. It had been one of the first confirmations that the project really worked beyond her own family. Curious about what had happened to Mrs. Dorothy, Sarah decided to try to locate her. After a few phone calls, she discovered that she had passed away 2 years prior, at 89, but she managed to speak with one of her sons. Dr. Robert, this is Sarah Harrison, from the Robert Harrison Foundation. Your mother, Mrs. Dorothy, wrote to us many years ago about a pink memory box. Sarah, my mother spoke of you constantly. That memory box completely changed our family. How so? My mother managed to gather us all every Sunday for the last 15 years of her life. We used the memory box to reminisce about family stories. When she passed, we divided the mementos from the box among us 4 siblings, but we still meet monthly. That's beautiful, Dr. Robert. Sarah, there's more. My youngest son, inspired by the story of his great-grandmother Dorothy, created memory boxes for each of his own children. Now there are 4 generations of our family using memory boxes to maintain our bond. Your mother would be so proud. She always said the pink memory box was the most important gift she ever received, that through it she rediscovered her children's love and managed to pass that love on to her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. After hanging up the phone, Sarah sat reflecting on how many stories similar to Mrs. Dorothy's had happened over the past 35 years. Thousands of families that reconciled, grew stronger, rediscovered each other through the simple practice of saving and sharing cherished memories. She thought of her father, Robert Harrison, and how a seemingly small gesture of love had transformed into a worldwide wave of family strengthening. That afternoon, Sarah made a special decision. She wrote a letter to Noah and Grace, formalizing her complete withdrawal from the executive leadership of the foundation. Dear Noah and Grace, the time has come for me to step away completely from the leadership of the Robert Harrison Foundation. For 35 years, I have been the guardian of the message left by my father. Now, with the conviction that the message is solidly established in the world, I pass this responsibility entirely to you and to future generations. The original pink memory box will remain with me until the end of my life, but as a personal symbol, not an organizational one. The foundation no longer needs specific symbols or leaders. It sustains itself on the strength of its own message. You have complete freedom to evolve the project in whatever way you see fit. I trust you will maintain the original spirit, but adapt it to the needs of each new era. My only request is that you preserve the complete historical archive of the project's 35 years, so future generations can study and be inspired by this journey. Thank you for continuing Grandpa Robert's dream. He would be immensely proud of you. With all my love and trust, Aunt Sarah, 40 years after the discovery of the memory box. Sarah Harrison, now 67, was sitting on the porch of her home watching Noah and Grace organize the weekend activities with their 2 young children. The new generation had turned memory box time into an even richer tradition. The children not only looked at old photos and objects, but actively participated in creating new memories. They planted trees to mark special dates, conducted recorded interviews with their grandparents, created collaborative art to represent important family moments. The original memory box, now with 40 years of history, was displayed in a special case in Sarah's living room. It had become a family heirloom, visited periodically by researchers and journalists interested in the project's history, but to Sarah, it remained simply the tangible proof of her father's love. During one of these family afternoons, Sarah's great-granddaughter, Sophia, just 5 years old, approached the display case, holding the original memory box. Great-grandma Sarah, why does this memory box sit there all alone? Doesn't it want to play with our new memory boxes? Sarah smiled and knelt down to talk to Sophia at eye level. This memory box is very special, sweetheart. It's like the grandfather of all the other memory boxes in the world. How can a memory box be a grandfather? Because it was the first memory box that taught a family to love each other more. And then that family taught other families, who taught others, who taught others. Just like when you throw a pebble in a pond, and it makes those circles in the water. Sophia was thoughtful for a moment. Great-grandma, when I grow up, will I teach my children about memory boxes too? If you want to, Sophia. But only if you understand that the memory box isn't magic. The magic is in the love we keep inside it. And what if I don't understand? Sarah laughed. If you don't understand when you grow up, your own childhood memories will teach you. That's how it works. Love passes from generation to generation through the memories we cherish. That night, Sarah wrote in her personal diary, 40 years later, I realized the true inheritance I received from Daddy wasn't the piggy bank, not even the memories inside it. It was the ability to see love in its simplest, most everyday expressions. He taught me that a rich family isn't the one with more money, but the one with more happy memories. That the real treasure isn't what we keep in the bank, but what we keep in our hearts. Lily, with her 5 years, already intuitively understood something many adults take decades to comprehend. Love multiplies when it's shared, and the best way to preserve love is through the memories we create together. The pink piggy bank fulfilled its mission. Now it's the new generations who will decide how to continue spreading love throughout the world, and I'm sure they'll find even more beautiful and creative ways to do it. 50 years after the discovery of the piggy bank, the Harrison family gathered for the most special celebration of all, the project's Golden Jubilee. Sarah, now 77, was surrounded by 4 generations of family. Noah, at 47, had become an internationally recognized leader in social technology. Grace directed the world's largest research program on family bonds. Lily, at 15, had created a version of the project specifically for teenagers in family conflict. Mrs. Margaret had passed away 10 years earlier, at 105, but not before seeing the project reach its 5th decade of existence. In her final years, she often said she had lived long enough to see Robert's little seed turn into a worldwide forest. The Jubilee celebration was different from previous ones. Instead of a large formal event, the family decided to do something more intimate, a gathering with only the families directly benefited in the project's first decade. 100 families who had received piggy banks in the first 10 years of distribution were invited. Many came accompanied by children and grandchildren born after the family reconciliation provided by the piggy banks. During the celebration, Sarah gave what she considered her final official speech about the project. 50 years ago, when my father left me a pink piggy bank as an inheritance, I thought I'd been forgotten. Today I know I was chosen for a mission I could never have imagined. Looking at you, family strengthened through that piggy bank's message, I realize my father achieved something extraordinary. He created a form of love that transcends death, that grows with time, that multiplies infinitely. Each of you will carry this message forward in your own way. You don't need pink piggy banks. You don't need the Robert Harrison Foundation. You don't even need to remember our name. You just need to remember that families grow stronger when they value the memories they create together. She paused and looked at the original piggy bank, which was on a special table at the center of the celebration. This piggy bank has fulfilled its mission. It is no longer an object of the Harrison family. It is the heritage of all families who believe in the power of shared love. Therefore, today, I officially donate this original piggy bank to the Museum of the American Family, so future generations can learn its story. The decision deeply moved everyone present. Sarah was symbolically returning to society, the object that had transformed so many lives. But she had one final surprise. From her pocket, she withdrew a small golden key. Before donating the piggy bank, I need to do one final opening. It has been 50 years since I've opened this piggy bank completely. I know all the original memories of my father are still here, but I want to check if there's anything more he might have hidden to be discovered only after so much time. With hands trembling from emotion, Sarah opened the keepsake box for the first time in decades. Beyond the family memories she knew, there was a secret compartment she had never noticed. Inside the compartment, she found a small envelope with the words, "To be opened by Sarah when she has grandchildren." With tears in her eyes, Sarah opened the envelope and found one last letter from her father. "My dear Sarah, if you are reading this letter, it means you managed to open the secret compartment I created in the keepsake box. It also means you have had children or grandchildren, and you have probably fully understood the value of family memories. I write this letter a few days before I depart, knowing I may never meet your children or grandchildren. But I am sure that if you are reading this, it is because you have managed to build a beautiful and close-knit family. I want you to know that I chose to give the keepsake box specifically to you, not only because you were the most sensitive of my children, but because I knew you were capable of something greater, transforming our family love into a message for the entire world. I always knew you had a heart too big to be happy, just taking care of your own family. You were born to care for other people's families too. If my suspicions are correct, you have probably helped hundreds or thousands of families reunite. If I am wrong, and you have only kept our memories to yourself, that is also fine. What matters is that you have been happy. But knowing my Sarah, I am sure you have spread our love far beyond the borders of the Harrison family. Thank you for being the daughter I always dreamed of having. Thank you for honoring my memory in a way that far exceeds my expectations. And thank you for ensuring that the love I felt for you three continues to live in the world, long after my departure. Now you can rest, my daughter. Your mission is accomplished. With eternal love and infinite pride, your father who loves you forever, Robert Harrison." There wasn't a single dry eye at the celebration. Sarah cried for long minutes, holding the letter to her chest. When she finally managed to speak, she said only, "Daddy, mission accomplished." End of story. This was a fictional story created to touch our hearts. Now tell us what you thought. Do you believe in the power of family memories? Does your family have special traditions to preserve important moments? Leave in the comments your opinion on the transformation of the Harrison family and how a simple pink keepsake box changed so many lives. Don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories.